Okay.
I wasn't sure you hit it hard enough.
Yeah, okay. Sorry about this. Number one, it's Sunday. Number two, the BAFTAs are in a couple hours. And you're wondering where Versus is. Obviously, we kind of switched things up this week. Since we didn't get to all the movies until last night, we didn't really have time to come and do the reviews last night. So, because of that, you're getting the reviews on Sunday and Versus tomorrow, so. And then everything will go back to normal next week. A lot of stuff coming this week. We have our BAFTA recap is coming up on Monday. And then we've got the Philip Seymour Hoffman tribute, which is finally coming out. That's coming out later in the week. And yes, for those of you out there that are very curious, I know you are, because you keep sending us messages and we do appreciate it. On Thursday, we'll get our 100% official Academy Award prediction finally out to the public. So, we got 5 movies on this review. We've got 4 from this year, 1 from last year,
And it's remake week.
and a whole lot of remakes. Take it away, AJ.
We have 5 movies. 4 of them are remakes. 3 of them are remakes of movies from the 80s. None of which were really asking to be remade.
Nope.
I mean, Robocop, Robocop, I would imagine, is a movie that would be remade eventually. I would have never suspected movies like Endless Love and About Last Night would be remade, but... Well,
And Oldboy, for a lot of people think. For that
they're-
matter.
Yeah, they're doing a lot of the Americanization of horror movies, but... we will, maybe I should, real quick, just say something about the concept of remakes.
Okay.
Remakes are particularly shunned immediately, as soon as they're in the pre-production stage. People
Right.
are just like, oh my god, that's being remade, this will be a piece of shit. I know this for a fact. I won't say I'm pro-remakes, but I never complain about a remake. I don't
can
really
work
see
if done right.
if it's I think it's an interesting concept to see a beloved movie through, or not so beloved movie,
Yeah.
through another director's eyes with different actors.
Yeah.
Unless you're Gus Van Sant remaking Psycho, but that was just an experiment gone awry. But I don't understand this. I mean, I guess, but I think it's just ridiculous to immediately shun a remake immediately just because it's a remake,
Yeah.
which happens way too much.
Oldboy actually was one of the first.
When Oldboy was when Oldboy was going to be Spielberg and Will Smith, people just were especially if it's a remake of a foreign movie, they're going to throw a fit. Because we're America, we're going to water it down. And yeah, even though that's true, it still could work. I mean, look at Infernal Affairs and The Departed.
Stuff like Dragon Tattoo, though.
Yeah.
It worked.
The Departed took Infernal Affairs and added a whole other hour of depth to it, character depth. So, you know, if you're that person that just shuns remakes immediately, you're really annoying, and you're. This was real, especially, remember John Wayne fans when the Coen Brothers remade True Grit?
I had to hear it all the time.
Oh my god. So, anyway, now that I've said that, I feel it's important to go into the reviews of these movies saying, I don't care if a movie is remade. Just to have that in mind.
It's just another way to envision a movie that you may have liked or may have disliked.
So, we're going to start with Robocop. Robocop has added a character to the movie. We're missing a really great character, but they've added this character who is this really energized news anchor that's kind of like... It's a kind of a Larry King-esque show, I guess.
Oh, yeah.
A very futuristic version of one. This is Samuel L. Jackson, and the movie starts with him doing these... I was confused for a second, as I'm sure most are. The famous MGM logo comes up, and the lion roars, but it's actually, instead of the sound of the lion roaring, it's the sound of Samuel L. Jackson doing these voice warm-up exercises. Which you don't know that's what it is at first.
Just threw you off right away.
Oh shit, the sound's fucked up already.
I had to go upstairs again.
But, no, it's Samuel Jackson doing voice exercises, which is... This whole character is very entertaining.
Yeah.
I'll start off right away by saying I actually like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I know it was an immediate red flag because just a couple of weeks ago, somebody reposted an interview with Joel Kinnaman from 2 years ago, like right after he was cast. And he himself said something along the lines of, "We're not going to ruin this movie by making it PG-13. Alas, this movie's PG-13.
Yeah.
But, and it's worth mentioning that the original is a very violent Paul Verhoeven movie, who had a whole 80s style of his own of over-the-top violence that would go on to his 90s movies like Total Recall and Starship Troopers. The original Robocop is a bloodbath. So yeah, it's kind of alarming when you think about the fact that they're basically going to turn that into a practically bloodless PG-13 movie.
Mm-hmm.
But somehow, I was very surprised and pleased with how this movie came out. Starting off with the absolutely fantastic, amazing cast, which got everybody's attention immediately.
Oh, yeah.
Because you have... Obviously you have Joel Kinnaman, who's famous for, I think, The Killing. He's also in that, I can't remember what country it's from. It's a crime movie called Easy Money. It's got another title over there, but I can't remember what it is. That Scorsese saw and basically released in theaters over here. It's like it's got like a sequel and shit. It's like its whole thing. Did I mention The Killing already?
Yeah, someone asked me the other day where this guy's from, and my go-to nowadays say he's probably on television.
Yeah, I think he's the star of The Killing. That show that keeps going on and off the air. Nobody remembers if it's on or off anymore.
Yeah.
Then you have the Doctor, who is Gary Oldman. You have the head of the company, who is Michael Keaton. You have Samuel L. Jackson. You have I'm not quite sure what his purpose is. He's basically a military guy that runs shit. Runs all the tests and shit. Jackie Earle Haley.
Looking like Walter White.
Yeah.
Big time.
And Abby Cornish as Mrs. Robocop. But I've never really been a fan of her, and she doesn't really have much to do here, so you can take that for what you want.
I just want the credits to say Mrs. Robocop, because it's funnier.
You have Michael Keaton doing Ronnie Cox, I think, played the original villain. You'll notice something I was really upset about. If you're a fan of the original, I'm sure you know exactly what I'm talking about. This remake does not have Clarence Boddicker in it. The closest we get is this... Well, it's kind of... There's this kind of villain that's, of course, involved in the explosion that turns Alex Murphy into Robocop. He's just this criminal that's just kind of there, and I guess... Clarence Boddicker was kind of a... Take Jackie Earle Haley and mix it with this guy. Pretty much. Jackie Earle Haley was the main replacement for him, but... No, you can't... Without... This movie's definitely missing something not having Kurtwood Smith in it, of course. Or his character. Because his character was wild and awesome. Now, you do have... first off, it's a good thing... sometimes, I don't know, for some reason I tend to disagree a lot with people in regards to this, but... it's worth noting that a lot of movies lately that are effects heavy, for some reason, despite the fact that we're getting further into the future and technology is expanding, a lot of times effects heavy movies look like shit nowadays.
Yeah.
And the effects look really fake. The Hobbit.
Oh yeah.
And it just World War Z. Mm-hmm. People get too overly into CG and it looks cartoony and fake and completely unconvincing. I thought this movie's effects were pretty stellar.
Yeah.
Particularly a really great scene where they're basically trying to bring Murphy into the reality of his situation. So they basically put him in front of a mirror and they take off his they basically take him out of the machine, and he's nothing more than a head, a heart, lungs, and a hand. That's all he's got.
He's basically Krang with a hand.
So, and these surprisingly, that could have looked like shit, and while it didn't, look particular, I mean, I don't know, but it looks a lot better than most effects I've
Yeah, I can see that.
Which was really important for a movie like this, especially the big showdown at the end. All of that stuff looked great. So, there's that. Everybody talks about the change in the suit. You especially were on this.
I hated this.
But they were nice enough to give us an explanation.
Yeah, I'll give him that.
He's got the original Peter Weller suit, basically.
Yes.
Maybe not the exact thing, but it's basically an exact replica. And we have Michael Keaton, who is observing him, and he's basically saying, this is all great and everything, but I want him to look more tactical. And I shit you not, this would have been amazing. Obviously, Michael Keaton is Batman.
Yes.
A part of me really, even though it would have been cheesy as fuck, it would have been so interesting to hear Michael Keaton, of all people, say the actual line, does it come in black?
Yeah.
But that's basically what he says, though.
Yeah, pretty much.
So, that is why he looks different now. So you can blame Michael Keaton if you want to.
It's like Cyclops from Singer's X-Men movies.
And you, Mr. Mom.
Johnny Dangerously.
I
like that movie.
Jack Frost.
Yeah.
Beetlejuice.
Ken.
He's got a lot of great parts, doesn't he? So anyway, we have this. There's one particular scene I really wanted to mention. Now, I was liking this scene. I mean, I was liking the movie just fine. I'm probably liking it more now than most people are going to.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's always that it's a PG-13 remake of Robocop. There's just gonna be, even the people that watch it are just they're gonna have that bitterness inside them that makes them not like it. But this one particular scene just sent me into, holy shit, I love this. There is this fantastic scene where they're still training him, and he's doing a simulation thing. And Jackie Earle Haley has been berating him, basically. And he calls him the Tin Man. So they start the simulation, and Jackie Earle Haley's in charge of everything. And he says, when I work, I like to have a little music playing. And he puts on If I Only Had a Heart as this simulation is going in motion. This is fucking amazing. I love this.
It's the little things sometimes.
So, yeah, that's pretty much it. The action is perfectly fine. It's kind of like, okay, I guess we can talk about the fact that Dredd exists.
I like Dredd, and I think you do too.
Yeah, but here's the thing. The problem especially, Dredd's existence kind of also puts a bit of a burden on this. Because, generally, especially since it was so blood-soaked, a lot of people told you that Dredd was more or less more of an official remake of Robocop than it was Judge Dredd.
Very true.
So, and it kind of has, yeah, this movie would have benefited with a bit more of a darker tone, kind of like Dredd had. But, as it is, I think it's perfectly fine. And I think it's going to get a lot of hate that it doesn't really warrant, just because of what it is.
I didn't want to like this movie, I really didn't. And I went into it with no expectations. I've never seen the original. The only Robocop I know was when he did his little cameo in WCW.
I saw the original and I saw the second one. I never got to. I heard the third one was terrible, especially since they replaced Peter Weller, and then they had a whole bunch of like straight to video stuff or something like totally unrelated or something.
But it wasn't bad, honestly.
And there is the scenes with Oldman and Michael Keaton together are really good scenes. And my only complaint, without spoiling too much, is the two different endings.
Mm-hmm.
The ending to the original and the ending to this one. The showdown with the main villain. The original movie did this perfectly. The original movie has an amazing ending. That last scene is spectacular. This one kind of takes that scene and makes it something much less fantastical. The ending just kind of... Like, the big showdown is great, but when it gets to the final confrontation, you know, it just kind of happens. And there's really no triumphant factor to it.
I've got a comparison that fits really well in my mind, and I've been thinking about it ever since I watched the movie.
Mm.
The original, from what you've told me, is like the ending of Kill Bill 1. This one is like the ending of Kill Bill 2. If you want to go it that direction, I would say that one is way over the top and how a movie should end, and then one is kind of just lackluster. It wasn't bad, it's just kind of lackluster compared to the other one. That's what I would say, at least.
Yeah, so, you know, whatever. And what's great about... Another thing that's great about this one has a bit of an epilogue for, you know, the emotional, you know, stuff. Like with the wife and all that. When the original movie, after that scene happens, the movie ends.
Not this time.
So it didn't end with as much of a bang as it could have. Especially after that great, you know, big scene. But, whatever. It's fine.
Yeah.
It's not going to be as bad as your friends will probably tell you it is. Of course, I'm also the person that liked R.I.P.D., so if you want to take my opinion with a grain of salt, you go right ahead.
I liked R.I.P.D. too, as well.
So yeah, because I was sitting there watching and I was thinking, people are going to fucking hate this movie, but I'm really enjoying it. I feel like I've felt this before recently. Oh yeah, it was when R.I.P.D. came out.
Yeah, no lie.
I watched R.I.P.D. going, man, I love this. I'll bet people are just fucking hating it though.
And they totally do.
Yes.
But we don't.
R.I.P.D. was one of the most shunned movies of last year.
Yeah, I agree with that.
But I'm perfectly fine with it. So, and I love the original, so, you know, whatever you want to believe, I guess. Should we go on to our second 80s remake?
Sure.
Okay. I think a lot of people nowadays, especially the kind of crowd it'll probably attract, don't realize this movie is a remake.
No,
Not only is it a remake, it's a remake of two things. And I see a credit that I have never seen before.
Yes.
At least I think. Maybe. Maybe there's one other movie that does this. I don't know how it works. Okay. In case you don't know for some reason, About Last Night is a 1987 movie with Rob Lowe and Demi Moore.
Yep.
And Jim Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins. And it was really, really, really dirty. Really dirty.
Dirty for the time or dirty for now?
It was like I haven't seen it for a long time, but it was like... It was the one movie... I saw it when I was like just entering teenagerhood.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe I'm watching this. This is so fucking dirty. I felt like... My 13-year-old self felt like I was watching a porn when I saw this movie.
Like when I watched Kids the first time. Yeah.
And basically what this does is... it's kind of... the original actually had more drama than comedy. And it was really... The love scenes were like really romantic. This one basically takes the romanticism that was in the love scenes of the original and makes it the borderline Fairly Brothers territory.
Yeah.
You know?
Reminds me more of Booty Call.
There's yeah. They did a couple of, okay, this is what I was talking about with these credits that were weird to me. The Rob Lowe Demi Moore movie is based off a David Mamet play called Sexual Perversion in Chicago or something like that.
Yes.
Now, okay. So anyway, what's happened is, wow, it's really snowing.
I did just notice that.
When the movie starts, when the remake starts, it says, based off the play by David Mamet.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's so fucking weird to see in front of a Kevin Hart comedy.
Yeah.
Because he's like one of the most well-respected, beloved playwrights of all time.
Kevin Hart's Martin Lawrence.
But after that, then it says based on the screenplay by, and it gave the credits for the guys that wrote the original movie.
Yeah.
So I guess it's trying to be a remake of both? I have no idea how the play differs from the original movie.
No idea.
But they kept the character names, they kept the setup and everything. It's just an all-black cast now.
It's like the Honeymooners.
Instead of Brad Packers.
Yeah.
But the weird thing is, obviously, in the original you have Rob Lowe and Demi Moore, your big faces, and you have kind of Jim Belushi and Elizabeth Perkins in the background. Well, it's actually Kevin Hart and Regina Hall are doing the Jim Belushi, Elizabeth Perkins parts.
Mm.
But because you have Kevin Hart, who's fucking Kevin Hart, and you have Regina Hall, who I guess people still know from Scary Movie, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
And they've decided to put them towards the front because of them. And you have Michael Ealy and Joy Bryant doing the actual leads. Alright. Let me start off immediately with what we were just talking about. The original movie is a fucking dirty movie.
Mm.
In this one, the sex is intact, but it felt more like... In the original, I mean, I hate to be that guy of this is everything the original did right, this is how the remake's fucking it up, but...
You already said you were going to be.
Because I already criticize people who do that, but sometimes it either works or... Like I just said with Robocop, there's plenty of stuff that they arguably fucked up, but the movie still worked.
Mm.
The stuff that this one is fucking up is making it worse. And because... Where you had, I mean, yeah, you could take the romantic scenes of the original and turn them into something funny if you so desire.
Yeah.
But the dirty lines and the sex scenes in the remake of About Last Night felt more like a 15-year-old who was just learning dirty words and dirty things for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And was trying to, like, impress his teenage friends. And just... It just felt...
Forced.
And a little immature, I guess, too.
Extremely immature.
Like, it didn't, like... Let's use the Fairly Brothers as an example. If you watch movies like, There's Something About Mary...
Yeah.
They have this gross-out, really dirty days of jokes here.
Yeah, of course.
But there was a sense of maturity to that movie, to where... They felt like people who really knew what they were doing with the dirty material.
Yeah.
This just feels like some screenwriter that's just trying to say, oh, this'll be shocking and people will find this hilarious because of how dirty it is, and there's really nothing else to it.
Yeah. No substance at all.
And no. It's just, yeah, it seemed trying a little too hard to be dirty. I think the reason it worked, that's a whole other thing. They're basically trying to be dirty because they're trying to be dirty for the sake of it, and be raunchy. I say the original's dirty, the original's not necessarily raunchy, because you feel like a voyeur in the sex scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's like, you can really sense the love between them oozing out of those scenes.
Yeah.
But, so it felt like something that was necessary. Just using it for cheap, dirty laughs was not working. But now that I've said all this, I'd like to point out the fact that apparently people like this movie.
Yeah.
Critics included. And I'm a little lost there. But, and, the original was more about making this very realistic portrayal of relationships.
Mm-hmm.
The new one is just doing this... It just seems very by the numbers.
Yeah.
It feels like there's so many movies that have been made like this now. To be totally honest, we have so many, oh, look how well we know relationships movies, that the last movie in the world right now that needed to be remade was About Last Night.
Yeah.
Because this is just, there's like 30 movies a year that are
It's
like
overkill.
this.
It really is.
And not to mention that you're basically lifting the same cast you used in Think Like a Man. And the fact that you have a Think Like a Man sequel coming out, this movie is just going to blend in with every other movie like it, and everybody's going to forget about it. I haven't seen the original movie in fucking years. Since I was a teenager. And I still remember everything about it. Because the characters and the writing and everything, just everything about it just really stood out as something above the material that it was. This does not do anything to rise above anything.
No.
It's just the exact same kind of movie that has been coming out and will continue to come out, and this will just disappear into... People like it now, but it's just going to disappear into the abyss after a while.
Yeah.
Especially with the Think Like a Man sequel coming out in like a few months.
Well, Think Like a Man actually wasn't bad, and I actually did like it, especially...
Let me tell you this.
One thing.
We saw this Thursday night. Is that right?
About Last Night? No. Yeah? Yes. Because
Yes.
Robocop, then About Last Night.
Yes.
Great double
We saw
feature.
About Last Night Thursday night.
Mhm.
Today is Sunday.
Yes.
Um...
Yes, folks, he still has a watch.
When I was trying to figure out, I was going through my head, okay, what movies do we have to talk about?
Mm-hmm.
I would remember the other four, and I would be, what's the last one? I basically forgot we saw About Last Night.
Because everything we watch, regardless for whatever reason, they're all memorable. Other than that, About Last Night.
I felt like, and the worst thing about it is, obviously it's a remake, and obviously they use the same character names, the same plot developments, like the dog. I'm pretty sure the dog thing's in the original too.
Probably.
And the getting together with the friends and all that. I was sitting there feeling like, I felt like I had seen this movie before, but it wasn't the original movie. It's just every other movie like this.
There's about 35 of them that came out in the 90s.
That's come out in the past few years, especially. Yeah.
I'm talking about the 90s, how bad it was, like the Booty Call era. I liked Booty Call, but I mean, it opened...
There's just nothing special about this
No,
at all.
not
And
at all.
for no reason at all, they shifted to L.A.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with anything.
Not in the original?
I think they stayed in Chicago in the original, like the
Okay.
play was. And yes, if you didn't know the original existed, then you definitely don't know that. Do you remember that scene that went by for like a second where Michael Ealy and Joy Bryan are sitting on the floor and they're cuddled up and they're watching a movie? And it was a movie where Rob Lowe was in a baseball uniform and Demi Moore was walking away waving. Yeah, that's the original goddamn movie. Somehow, the characters from that movie are watching the movie that they originated from.
How's that even possible?
I don't know. That's like the people that complained when Seed of Chucky came out. It's like, how can you kill Jennifer Tilly for real when she's supposed to be playing Tiffany? How can this movie exist if Jennifer Tilly is killed?
You think way too much about Steve Chucky. That's my commentary on the subject.
So yes. So not only does this do nothing to add anything to the original, it does nothing to add to the material that it is. Which, by the way, like I said, the original was in 1987, where it was still, you know, kind of a fresh thing to try to do your own fresh take on relationships.
Yeah.
Really horrible time to remake this movie, because that is just not a fresh thing right now.
No.
And it probably never will be again. This really should not have happened. I think they were... I don't know. I don't know what prompted this. But... yeah, I'd love to know David Mann's personal response to it. Oh god, if he liked it, I'm gonna...
Yeah.
But like I said, people seem to like it. Apparently Kevin Hart and Regina Hall got really good reviews for it, too.
Why?
I don't know. Some people say it's Kevin Hart doing his thing, but he's surprisingly toned down or something. I didn't see anything toned down.
No, he's not turned down at all.
I mean, he's not in grudge match or ride along territory.
No.
But he's still just
unbearable.
Yeah, that's just no. I'm really, really done with Kevin Hart.
Martin Lawrence, come back and take your stick back, please.
I don't know.
He needs to get back into good movies. We had a conversation along the other day talking about Kevin Hart and being nothing but a third-rate Martin Lawrence wannabe. And then Coleman actually brought up the fact of Eddie Murphy and Eddie Murphy's fall from grace. Then we got talking about the Pryor movie with Marlon Wayans. Just one big strange conversation. Yeah, skip this movie. Don't go watch it.
I mean, it's not bad.
No. There's funny parts in it.
There's just no reason for it to exist.
It's like Carrie.
And like I said, you may like it now, but I really do believe that you're probably going to completely forget it in the next few months. So
If it takes that long.
if you want to see it, and if you did see it and you like it, enjoy it while it lasts, I guess. So I guess, yeah. It does make me wonder what I would think if my memory wasn't tainted by the original. And how good it was, and how well it handled this. So
Been someone other than Kevin Hart in the main role?
I don't know.
Maybe.
It's not even the main role. But
No, it is the main role, really. Even though it's just like the Lone Ranger and the story being about Tonto instead of Armie Hammer.
Oh my god, can you imagine if back in 1987 About Last Night actually technically starred Jim Belushi? Jesus Christ.
Good lord. No one's gonna go watch that movie.
Okay.
SNL fans would.
Now we're kind of gonna go in an interesting path. Because we're on to the next 80s remake, the third 80s remake in a row. Where the original movie is notoriously awful, so you can't get any worse.
Shock surprise.
Let's see who we have here. Zac Efron. No.
He's doing indie movies now, apparently.
Who's another fresh face we have?
Miles Teller.
You know what? Miles Teller's kid's breaking out. He was just in The Spectacular Now, you know. No, maybe not. Ooh, we have Alex Pettyfer.
The scourge of your existence.
The guy who is box office poison unless you have a shirtless Channing Tatum and Matthew McConaughey on the poster for his movie.
No lie.
Oh, God. They remade Endless Love. If you can believe that. Like I said, I don't know how many people watching this video knew there was an original. I don't know how... Because this movie is obviously geared towards people that chances are they don't realize there is an original.
It's geared towards teenagers, and that's not a joke.
Yeah. And it starred a guy that nobody knows, a guy whose name I don't remember, and Brooke Shields. And it was it's basically most famous for being Tom Cruise's first movie, and he has one scene as some jock. He's got his denim shorts and his tank top, and he's just being all 80s and shit.
Oh, that's awesome. I have to see this scene. Just because.
Okay.
Did the original have... I know this is probably cheesy as well, but did the original have the song in it?
Yeah, that's where it came from. It's nominated for the Oscar.
This one has not even a cover of the song in the movie.
I was
expecting a cover.
I was, but...
Like Paramore doing it or something.
Maybe
That's how it works
Lionel Richie did the song, right?
Yeah.
Maybe he didn't want to give it to it.
Lionel Richie needs the money, sir.
Not this bad.
Apparently not.
Okay, so... Okay, where do you begin a review of a movie that's a remake of Endless Love?
Well, first off, the trailer is really misleading.
Let me talk... Okay. Alright.
I want to bring it up right away.
The thing that made the original notorious is the fact that it was creepy as fuck and played off as a romantic movie. The movie was totally oblivious to the fact that it was creepy as fuck.
Okay.
Like I said, it gets comparisons to Fear sometimes.
That's the first thing I saw when I saw the trailer. I'm like, we're doing Fear again. This is going to be awesome.
Okay, but no, it's a pure romance movie. No thrillers present.
Nope.
Intentionally, anyway.
A knockoff Nicholas Sparks movie.
Okay, so, god damn, where do I begin?
I see so many notes on that page.
Okay, basically what it is this guy has been watching this girl from a distance, but they're in totally different places because it's one of those, it's trying to be a modern day Romeo and Juliet, basically. The guy that directed the original movie did the famous 1968 version of Romeo and Juliet, actually. So people actually expected great things before this stuff actually came out. Okay. Okay. So, the guy, who is Alex Pettyfer now, has, he doesn't have a mom because she left, but he has a dad who's Robert Patrick. Generally, when Robert Patrick plays your dad, you're probably a lowlife.
Yeah.
Or Johnny Cash, who was a little bit of both, at the time.
True.
Okay. And then you have her family. She is, I can't even remember her name off the top of my head. She played, I think she played Sue Snell in The New Carrie.
Yes.
That's all she's going to do now is remakes. But
we're going all the way back to Carrie already.
She was intentionally remaking a horror movie last time.
Now she's just unintentionally.
And her parents are all above everything. And of course his dad is kind of a, you know...
He's a grease monkey. That's the actual terminology.
He's an fuck-it guy.
So, he's a mechanic.
So they're coming from two different places. Not quite the Montagues and the Capulets, but I guess that's the best we can do.
Yeah, Romeo and Juliet was made pretty well last year.
So anyway, we have them, and they fall for each other, and they've just graduated, and... Okay. And they fall for each other, but her dad disapproves, and her mom is like, you know, encouraging because she hasn't felt love in a long time because the dad's a douchebag.
Wasn't that Laura Dern?
No, but it was Jolie Richards.
Oh, okay. Why do I get them confused?
So,
Whoops.
And of course they do their forbidden love thing. Right in the open. So it's not all that. It's forbidden, but it's not.
Forbidden when no one can see.
It's forbidden out in the open. Whatever.
Yes.
I guess the best thing to do would be to talk about the changes. Because here's the thing that people are going to give this movie credit for. But it may or may not be a bad thing. In a bit that was probably smart at the time, they took out the entire creepiness factor when they rewrote it. Apparently it's based off a book, and both versions of these movies are nothing like the book. I guess the author was like all pissed off when the original came out.
Understandably so.
Okay, let me talk. Okay. One of the first plot points in this movie is, her family goes to a beach house to vacation. It's just this vacation house where they go as a family and they hang out for like a weekend or a week or whatever it was.
There was never like a determined time. It's like packed for at least a couple weeks.
Post graduation, it could be 4th of July. I don't know if they skipped ahead a month or what.
They were just trying to get her away from him.
But she invites him to the vacation house.
Yep.
And he shows up, and the dad gets pissed off because he's like, "Why did you invite him? This is family." And she's all, "Well, I invited him, and he's my guest, so he's here now." And they run off and do their thing.
Her brother brought his girlfriend, so it's pretty much null and void.
This is actually not that bad. Because in the original, I shit you not, they didn't have a vacation house. It was their house. There was no getaway. The guy basically lived in their house.
How's that possible? What do you live in the closet?
No, that's just the thing. It's completely incomprehensible. That's what made the original so bad. He just basically lived in their house. Despite the fact that the dad was against the relationship. So they made it a little more believable that it's a vacation house that he was invited to.
Yeah.
Okay. Smooth that over.
Slightly.
Secondly, the scene where they... I don't know if we're supposed to assume... I think in the original we're supposed to assume they're virgins. That's not really... It's hard to It's hard to say if they're implying that in this one or not.
I'm pretty sure they're implying she is.
But they do this big romantic scene, and they basically replicated it. It's the famous scene where they're in front of the fireplace doing the romantic thing. You know, when they kiss, their silhouettes kind of look like a heart. Isn't it romantic? And then they lay down and they bang in front of the fireplace. And the new one ends it there. I'm not kidding. Look it up. See the original movie if you don't believe me. Do you know how this scene goes in the original movie?
Yeah, because you told me.
Yes. In the original movie, while they're banging in front of the fireplace, her mom comes downstairs and she sees that they're banging. And instead of going, "Oh my god, get the fuck out of my house!" or "Oh shit," and running back upstairs. That could have been one or two logical reactions.
Yes.
Because of this longing for love because her husband's a douchebag thing, she leans on the banister, tilts her head, and watches them. I'm just being completely serious. That really happens. And it's supposed to be one of those, oh my god, she's so missing love, and oh my god, she's watching something so
Oh my god.
And they're not just, they're not just making out in front of the fireplace. They're fucking by this point. And the mom is watching in a very romantic fashion. And it's horrible.
Yeah.
It's this terrifying image. Okay, we're not done yet.
I know you're not.
Okay.
I can see there's still a lot more notes left.
Let's talk about another plot point. Let's talk about Bruce Greenwood now. Bruce Greenwood plays her dad. In a decent bit of casting. I love Bruce Greenwood. He's awesome.
Yeah.
He's good in a lot of movies. I can even name two off the top of my head are Meek's Cutoff and Star Trek. But he's done so many just because they're the most recent, I think. He was in Flight, too. Meek's Cutoff is one of the most boring movies you'll ever see, but he's great in it. He basically plays the douchey dad. But here's the problem. Before I go into Bruce Greenwood, I actually need to go into Alex Pettyfer first. You ready?
It's gonna be a while. I'll have to tell.
Here's the thing. I don't know if it's his face, or if it's the characters he's played before, or if it's. I hear he is I'm sorry to use such strong language, but in like if you're watching from the UK, it's not as strong, but in the US it has kind of a different meaning, so it's a little stronger. I'm really building this up. I have heard that Alex Pettyfer is an unbearable twat in real life.
Whose wording was that?
From some magazine article. Apparently he's like this huge misogynist. Apparently he was like bragging about all the women he fucks, and supposedly, this is Alex Pettyfer the person, not his character. This is Alex Pettyfer the real life person. Apparently he is such a misogynist. He supposedly has a tattoo. This could have just been a really bitter journalist, I don't know. But supposedly Alex Pettyfer, the real life actor, has a tattoo right above his dick that says "You're welcome."
Oh my god!
Supposedly.
I buy that just looking at him, to be totally honest.
So I don't know if it's because of that or what, but I just do not like this guy at all.
I don't want to watch those scenes in Magic Mike again to go try to find out.
This
so
guy has got to be one of the most unlikable actors still barely working. He had like 30 seconds in 12 Years a Slave. That's going to be his claim to fame forever. No, it was The Butler.
Yeah, The Butler.
Okay, so he's already disappeared into existence.
Yep.
I've never confused those movies till just now. That was weird.
No, you never have.
Okay, having said that, since he is so unbearably unlikable, the nail in this movie's coffin was casting him.
Yeah.
The final nail. Because we're supposed to believe that first off, we're supposed to believe that they fall in love with each other. Now, not only does he just come off unlikable just by standing there, just by doing nothing, I don't like him. Like I said, that's an opinion, of course. Maybe you think he's charming. God help you, but maybe you find him charming, and this works for you.
Mm.
But even so, even her, it's not that she is unlikable. It's just that we're supposed to believe that this big, undying teenage love that will withstand the odds no matter what is between these two people.
Yeah.
And to be honest, apart from the fact that they're constantly making out or fucking, or he's, trying to impress her by running over cars or whatever the fuck it is he does, there's no reason we are given as to why these two love each other.
No, they're really.
This is all they do. Montages of love scenes and making out is all we have to go on.
Yeah.
That's the only way we can tell they're in love. There are no other scenes where they, bond, or there are scenes where they bond, but it's in really quick flashes in a love montage. You know the scene where they're laying in the grass just staring into each other's eyes? That's all we've got to go on. They even say they have nothing in common. Now, of course, having nothing in common can work, the opposites attract, all that bullshit, but montages are not going to tell us anything.
No.
Watching a couple of montages is not going to make us say, I do now suddenly believe that their love withstands all, and I want to see them fight for each other. By the way, they spend the whole movie talking about how much they're fighting for each other. I didn't see much of that.
No, I really
They
didn't
sure as
either.
shit kept talking about they were doing it, but I didn't really see a whole lot of it.
Well, he punched Bruce Greenwood, and I guess that was
Yes,
fighting.
Okay, yeah. Let me talk. Okay, now back to Bruce Greenwood. Now that I've got that out of the way.
There we go.
Okay.
All right. I get you back on track.
Listen to this. This is just my opinion, like I said. Maybe you found their love just completely, just awe-inspiring. Just, oh my god, I want to feel what they feel. I gotta be totally honest. From my perspective, Bruce Greenwood was the good guy in this movie. Because, okay, first off, there is a plot point where it reminded me of the fucking green card thing and like crazy or whatever that was. That whole fuck that movie.
I like that movie, and you know that.
Okay. Listen to this. There's a plot point. Her character, I forgot her name. She's the main character. I forgot her
Wasn't it
name.
Emma?
I don't even remember. Okay.
Might be.
So basically, she's going to go off to medical school. And we see her with her dad. Her dad's a doctor. We see them at the hospital, and she's, looking at x-rays, and she's, learning, and she's really excited about it. This is clearly not one of those plot points of, you're going to medical school because I say so, you will be successful by what I tell you to be. She really wants to go to medical school.
It seems that way.
She seems really excited about it.
To leave for Brown.
And she's going to have this interview for an internship.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no. The interview's passed. I think it's the actual internship. And she is, they're basically running out of time.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, she has it marked on her calendar. This is when I leave. So this is the time we have. So they're living every day like it's the last.
They've got 10 days.
They're
that's it.
montaging everywhere.
Yeah.
No real words or emotions are felt, but there's a shitload of montages that tell us they're in love. And then finally the day comes. And, there's the only thing that wasn't there was a red circle on the calendar to mark it. And she changes her mind. She says, I'm not going to do the internship. I am not leaving. I'm going to stay here to fulfill this teenage love.
Her name is Jade.
With this guy. Yeah, that guy.
I think about that real quick, sorry.
So, and she thinks she's thought it all out now, you see. She says, I'm still young. I still have time to do everything I want. And she says this, I'm being serious.
I know.
Another internship is coming along in 4 years.
Sure.
Okay.
Like those once-in-a-lifetime phone calls you get, and you just hang up on them. That's coming back.
She thinks this is a great idea. Now, mind you, listen to this. Bruce Greenwood is saying, what the fuck are you on?
Yeah.
Go to this internship. You want to go to medical school.
I don't even know you anymore. You're not the daughter I thought I knew.
And because of this, because he's not fighting for the love, because he prefers to her to go to this internship that she personally really wants. She's not being forced into it. Her dad's the bad guy.
Yeah.
And just because, okay. I'm so sorry this happened to you, Bruce Greenwood, but here's what this movie does. Okay. Maybe some people have their heads on straight when they watch this, and they're taking Bruce Greenwood's side and saying, well, she's a fucking dumbass. Go on with this love that'll last another month. Another internship will be around in 4 years. They have to continuously... these people with their heads on straight will say, that is dumb. Bruce Greenwood has his head on straight. He's saying the right things. Listen to your dad. Make the right decision and, be able to create a life. He will still be here when you get back. Potentially.
He's not going anywhere.
Well, because maybe some people in the audience would think, maybe she should listen to her dad. The script is going to start piling on bad thing after bad thing for him to do to make him more of a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like cheating on his wife. Being a douchebag, intentionally starting a fight with him to make sure that he gets hit so he can say, look what he did to me, see? Well, and here's another thing. This is another way they try to make him look bad. Are you ready for this? This just blew, I almost laughed out loud. I tried not to because I didn't want to offend the people. The people in the theater seemed to be having a really romantic time. I didn't want to ruin it for them.
Yeah, it was quite a joke.
But I almost literally laughed out loud, which is something I don't normally do in comedies.
Yeah.
This was amazingly... This is hilarious. Okay. So, Bruce Greenwood decides he is going to look into Pettifer's past.
Yeah.
Because maybe, possibly, his daughter could be dating a psychopath. Better just make sure.
Fear.
Better just make sure. So, he finds, of course, this guy has a history of domestic abuse and is prone to violence. A very important thing to know. Okay? That is a very important piece of information.
Yeah.
So, she comes home, and he's like, and he lays the papers in front of her, and he's like, check that out. Look what I found. She opens it up. She sees all this shit. He went to juvie for this. She looks up with this disgusted look on her face. At this point, she should say, oh my god, Dad, thank you for potentially saving my life later.
Credits.
Bye! No. She's very upset because you looked into his past? That is his past. That is behind him. I don't know how old Alex Pettifer is. He's got to be in his mid-20s.
Yeah.
But it is. I did the math in my head before it was confirmed, but then they confirmed it in the movie. This guy is 18. 18-year-olds don't have a past.
No.
They have shit that just happened a couple of years ago at most. When could okay, he's 18 now. When did his past happen?
15, maybe? 13?
He would have had to have just gotten out of juvie then.
That sounds right.
When he went to school, when they went to school together. By the way, if they went to school together, why does she not remember this? So, because I don't know if they don't say how young he was. Maybe he was like 12 or something, and he was a psychotic kid. But still, that seed is still in there. And to prove that, as Bruce Greenwood does, on purpose, he decides he's going to egg on Pettifer to show that violence is... I mean, I know it's kind of a bad approach because not everybody's Gandhi.
Yeah.
But, even so, they're throwing comments at each other. And Greenwood says just the right thing to get himself decked. And naturally, he uses that as a, look what he did to me. See, it's still in him.
Not to mention you already punched a guy early in the movie anyway.
Yeah. So all the signs are there. Even if Greenwood was egging him on, a piece of it is still there.
Yeah.
And he is still potentially dangerous.
Yeah. Very true.
But I guess none of this matters, because the movie tries to use this as one of the angles to further bring him out as a bad guy. And he's just trying to break the love up, that fucking bastard.
Everyone turns on him.
I'm gonna be totally honest with you. I'm sure I was the only one in there, except maybe you. That scene where Greenwood is egging him on, like bringing up like his mom and shit, and people are supposed to go, "Oh my god, what an asshole! Hit him, man! He deserves it now." I was really cheering Greenwood on. I was like, "Yeah, just lay it on that fucker."
He broke out a baseball bat at the end of the movie.
Yeah, I was like, "Just knock his ass out, please." Like, I don't care.
End this movie now.
You know, they put, okay. The bad guy here, Bruce Greenwood, the big villain here, orders a restraining order on him. The kid decked him. Wouldn't you get a restraining order? If you had, you know, because that's what you can do. Well, this kid has the balls to show up at Bruce Greenwood's house with this restraining order on him, and he's surprised that the guy comes at him with a bat. And he has the nerve to say, "She's with me now, and that's just the way it is. And you have to deal with that, mister. Put a restraining order on me, man."
He comes off like a father more than a boyfriend. She's a B-doll.
But no, her dad's the bad guy.
You're supposed to root for this guy? Really?
Her dad is about as much of a bad guy as William Peterson is in Fear.
Thank you! And it comes back around again. Which is what I hoped this movie was going to be, but it totally wasn't.
It's worth noting that in the original movie, the new one never went into this. Is a couple of things.
You're excited about this, I can tell.
The fire at the end of this movie is not a big climax for him to save the day. Oh yes. Yes, you fans of the original movie, all two of you out there. The remake, if you haven't seen it, gives Pettifer's character a chance to save the day with the fire. He goes in and he saves the dad, and the dad goes, "Well, you saved my ass. You're okay, kid. I'm going to forget all about your psychotic tendencies." Listen to this. Let me tell you about this. In the original movie, the guy is so psychotic that, this is where the Tom Cruise scene comes in. This is what he does. He wants to be on, this is the original movie. He wants to be on the parents' good side. So what he does is he comes up with this plan to basically save them to make himself look good. Remember in the new movie when that candle tipped over onto the curtain and it set the fire? In the original movie, he himself sets the fire intentionally. Because he thinks if he goes in there and saves them during a house fire, it'll make him look better. That's the original movie. I'm not kidding. And because of this, he is locked in an institution in the movie. And the movie actually ends with him going back to that institution. Remember the car wreck in the middle of the movie where she, like, broke her arm for, like, a couple of days, apparently?
Yeah. I thought she broke her wrist.
Whatever it was.
You can heal that in a couple days.
That particular scene in the original movie was actually her dad getting hit by a car and dying because of him. But they cleared that out for the remake, so... At the very least, they took all the psychosis out of it. But they, if you think at all he might end up in an institution in the remake, that is actually replaced by, like, 45 minutes in jail. I don't even think that's possible. Don't you still have to, like, spend a particular amount of time in there before, even if you're bailed out?
I think you have to at least spend a night.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
He's in there for, like, 45 minutes, and he's... Okay, come on out. And that's where the confrontation happens.
Unless you're a drunk in, like, the 70s.
Yeah. What I was talking about with, how much I hate Pettifer and just how much I hate his whole everything about him.
Mm-hmm.
And how there's nothing to his character. He's just, I love. He doesn't necessarily emote anything that makes us really believe he's in love.
He's not even believable at all.
He tells us he's in love, and that's how we know. In the montages are very informative now.
Yeah, sure.
What the mom does, there's a whole subplot in the original movie where his mom. Okay, let me talk about the remake scene first. In the remake, she's basically her mom is basically trying to convince her dad that he's the greatest person ever. He's the perfect boyfriend for their daughter. There's nothing better in this world than the idea of them being in a relationship together. My throat's getting sore. So she writes him this note about how amazing he is and how so full of life he is and how he's brought a spark into this family that's brought this family back to life. Who the fuck is she talking about? Because it sure as shit is not this guy that Pettifer's playing. And I also thought there's a really funny line in the movie where basically everything they do. There's a particular scene where they break into this is them being rebels. I kid you not. The guy from The Spectacular Now that was Brie Larson's second boyfriend.
Yep.
Is his friend, and he says, I'm being serious. This is their idea. They go to a party, and he says, "We're going to leave this party because it's boring. We are going to break into the zoo, get really high, and hang out with the wildlife."
Yeah.
That is his big rebel plan. Well, and they just do this shit. They just do dumb shit all the time because, they're doing the, oh, I'm in love thing. Well, what happens is they go to this party, and she's like, come on, I want to go to this party. And he's like, no, I am responsible by saying no now for some reason.
For tonight, let's just be young and dumb.
Yes. She says, I want to be young and dumb just for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Just for tonight, she specifies. Watching this movie, when are they fucking not young and dumb? The very first thing they do together is steal a fucking car.
Yeah.
Granted, that guy did have it coming. I thought he was Adam Scott for a couple of minutes.
I'm not the only one that thought that.
Okay. But no, he's not believable as this romantic or this big,
lead of any kind?
He just has this... Every time I see Alex Pettifer, I just want to sock him in the face. He just has this sleazy quality about him that is just so unlikable, but they chose him, of all people, to make us believe this love could really last, and this was a love that was going to stand the test of time. Oh, God. Okay, now that I'm onto that, let me go ahead and bring up this movie's worst flaw. Okay.
Now?
Yeah, believe it or not. Okay. Now, everything I mentioned about the original that makes it really incomprehensible and creepy. I want you to think about this. At least the original movie had that. At least it's interesting to even though it's trying to play it straight as a straight romance movie with no other ulterior motives, but it comes off as a practically fucking horror movie with a bunch of weird-ass things in it. Mental institutions, people getting hit by cars, mothers watching their daughters get fucked in the living room of their own house that their daughter's boyfriend is practically living in despite your protests. At least the original movie has that. Yeah. It has that weird-ass quality that just draws you to it because you can't believe what the fuck you're looking at. This movie is just, by the numbers, boring.
Yeah.
It would have been more interesting to see them remake it as it was and release it now. Imagine the reaction it would get.
Yeah.
But they just turned it into this play it safe, oh, our young love's going to stand the test of time despite our opposing parent movie.
It comes off so much.
And it doesn't do anything. And I shit you not, there is a big romantic moment in an airport. It is that unoriginal. Don't even get me started on baggage claim again.
Oh, no. Not again.
So, yes. If you can believe it, this movie is worse than the original.
That's a lot to live up to.
Oh my sweet Jesus, they actually accomplished that. That's actually quite an accomplishment, though. To give them credit, they made something worse than the 1980s Endless Love.
That's saying something right there.
And yeah, the absence of the song doesn't do it any favors. Because that was like the one thing the original had going for it. Apart from the fact that it now has the wow factor of, what the fuck? Speaking of a wow factor of what the fuck, let's go on to our next movie, which shockingly is not a remake of an 80s movie. It's not a remake at all. It is based on a book, though.
It is a book, yes.
I hear an actually very beloved book, despite the fact that the movie is not getting a good reaction.
No original content this week.
Yeah.
At all.
So, we're gonna move for just a second
Hey, guys.
before our battery dies.
Owen's here, and he's got the battery.
My endless love tirade went a little longer than I had anticipated.
We're going to stare up at the ceiling. That's how we do things.
It's our transition from 80s remakes to actual movies now.
And my finger getting in the way, apparently. Yeah, you get comfortable, you're Al Bundy style. Oh, real quick, I want to say one more thing about Endless Love that really drove me insane about it.
What's that?
There were times, and everyone here probably knows how much I love this movie. There were a lot of times in the movie that it came off a lot like, I got a Walk to Remember wannabe vibe on it in some places, especially the party scenes. And I will say, when they all get to the party in the beginning of the movie, I really wanted it to be a horror film. I really did.
I was watching, when they first introduced her brother, who kind of looks like if Matthew Modine had a demon child.
Or the villain from Your Next.
Yeah, I was sitting there thinking, wow. And he was sitting there talking to her, being brotherly and stuff like that, and I was like, man, this kind of feels like the build-up of a horror movie, and he's going to be the first one murdered.
Or he's the one who does it.
Like Gary in Fear. That's
Yes.
basically what he was going to be.
Alright, let's talk about craziness now.
Before we go into that, let me just mention, I couldn't remember the main characters' names in this movie, but I remember fucking Gary's name in Fear.
Well, you also
I've
neglected...
seen Fear so many times.
Yeah, Fear's amazing. It'll come to verses eventually. We need to figure out what to put it up against. The thing you didn't mention, which I'm sure you probably completely don't give anything about, and I'm sure you didn't, is the fact that the dad, apparently, another vice he had was the fact that he was putting everything off on her because she had a brother that died, named Chris, and basically he's trying to make her into him. And
he's trying to be a dickish version of Donald Sutherland in Ordinary People.
Yes.
The whole, don't touch his things, what are you doing? So, there's a whole lot of it. There's the whole, that's just a cliche in itself, the parents that don't want you to touch the dead kids' things.
Yep. Don't touch the museum was the line in the movie.
Yeah. So, that's in It. That's in, I think it's in The Good Son. Just so many movies. Like, so many are dancing my head now, and I can't remember what they are now.
Our very strange transition. And
it's a cliche in itself.
Our strange transition has got us off on another tangent.
Okay. Now, our next movie is Winter's Tale.
Oh my god.
Hold on a second. This thing I've started doing where I don't watch trailers.
This helps you considerably with this movie.
I did not see, okay, I do that to hold the surprise factor now, because trailers are getting way too spoilery now. So, I went into Winter's Tale blindly. Okay? I did not see a trailer. I did not see one trailer. I never saw a TV spot. I never read the book, and I didn't even know what the story was. All I knew was something about reincarnation, but it was mainly a period piece.
I didn't even know the reincarnation part. In the trailer, it just comes off like a pay-by-numbers period piece.
Yeah. And it's just, the poster is just the city, the current city, and it's snowing, and it says, Colin Farrell and Russell Crowe, and it says, this Valentine's Day, like, anything is possible or something like that.
It's like August Rush as a Woody Allen movie, poster-wise.
So, I went into this movie, and I was like, okay, so it's going to be one of those movies. It starts in, we start in 2014.
Correct.
And Colin Farrell's in the city. And we don't know what he's doing. It's like he's just wandering around aimlessly.
He looks like a homeless figure.
And then suddenly we cut, and we're in 1895. I went to Back to the Future 3 there for a second. 1895, not 85. And it's this couple coming into like America with a baby. And we're like, who the fuck are these people? Then suddenly we jump to 1916.
Yep.
And we see Colin Farrell again, looking like Colin Farrell, much like he did in 2014. So, okay. So it's going to be one of those serendipity movies where it's like, you know, they find love in this period, and then, like, reincarnations, they're going to find each other again in the city.
He comes off looking like he did in Saving Mr. Banks.
That's what I imagined the movie was. Just romance here in the past, romance here in present day.
That's what's being promoted as.
Serendipity. End.
This is not the movie you're watching, folks.
I did not see this movie coming.
Not at all. Oh my gosh.
Like I said, if I had known this is what the movie was, and I knew that going in, maybe I would have thought, maybe I wouldn't have liked the movie as much.
I doubt you would have.
Because it would have just been one of those things. But the fucking surprise factor of this movie made it so insanely likable.
Completely agree.
Whoa! Okay. So, we begin in 1916, mainly. I guess he's the baby.
He is.
Okay, they don't really talk about 1895 that much.
He even said he came in on a boat. He says it later on in dialogue.
So, by himself as a baby, like the penguin in the sewer.
Exactly.
So, we have Colin Farrell running, and he's running from these criminals. Well, it turns out, so I thought at this particular time, this was simply a story of Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell plays this thief, and he works for this gangster who is Russell Crowe. Basically his same part in Dead Man Down.
Yeah.
He just works for a gangster that he's going against. He's trying to turn good or something. Not exactly that, because he's still burglarizing houses, but he's running away from Russell Crowe for some reason. And he hops this fence, and you have Russell Crowe come out, and he's doing this accent that's no accent at all. It is some made-up accent. And he's got the scar on his face, he's got the bowler hat, he's got his haircut, it's like there's claw marks on the back of his head or something. It's got this weird haircut.
That makes sense.
And he just looks like this, you know, Untouchables era gangster. And he's just chasing Colin Farrell. Colin Farrell hops the fence, and Russell Crowe gets up against the fence, and he's like, you know. And there's a white horse there waiting for Farrell. There's just a white horse there waiting there. I was like, that's convenient. He's going to get on the horse, and he's going to go that way, and he's going to flee Crowe, and Crowe's going to go, ugh. But no.
Nope.
The horse bows down, as if to say, mount me, Colin Farrell, like most women say.
Yes.
And so Colin Farrell gets on the horse, but he does not turn around and flee that way. The horse grows wings and flies over the fence.
It's like the Europa Film Company logo.
And then he flees Crowe that way. It turns out Russell Crowe is not a gangster. I don't know how many people know this going in.
No one does, as far as I know.
Because nobody's watching this movie. It's doing like horrible box office, and nobody's like. When I see reviews for this week, I see reviews for Robocop, Endless Love, and About Last Night. Nobody's fucking watching Winter's Tale.
No.
I think just nobody cares. Nobody knows what it is.
I think it's number 7 right now in the box office.
Yeah, and the critics that are watching it are just saying, I guess the critics knew, because they're just like dismissing it and saying, well, that's terrible, that sucks. And they're just throwing out reviews that say that. This movie was so unexpected to me. I did not know this is what it was at all.
I don't want to tell anybody about it so they can just go into it and think what they think.
Russell Crowe is not exactly a gangster. Russell Crowe is an immortal demon from hell. Literally. I did not know this for a while, but there is this great scene where I just thought he was weird and had a weird scar.
Mm.
Like, you know, gangsters obviously have their scars.
Yeah, of course.
Well, they're at a restaurant in public, and he's with his crew. He's with Kevin Corrigan and all them. And this waiter comes up, and they're friendly, and, you know, they're all that, and just, you know, it's just a friendly thing. But then suddenly the waiter says something that he doesn't like. So Crowe stands up, he kind of roars, his face breaks apart in CGI style, and he's something else underneath.
Yes.
He is not human. And he slices this waiter's throat, where his blood splashes onto the table. And Crow starts to draw, with his blood, the eventual target of his desire. He draws a person in this waiter's blood and says, that is who we have to kill.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't see that coming.
Nope, not at all.
And the movie goes from there. At first, and it took a while to get to this, because I thought it was just going to be one of those. We have this, I've forgotten her name now. She's on Downton Abbey. She's basically the main love interest. She's dying. And she's in this house, and Farrell breaks in, and he says, I was going to rob the house, but I'm not now.
Okay.
And she offers him tea. Because she doesn't care because it's actually William Hurt's house, not necessarily hers, and she's going to die anyway. But they don't know what it is. Like, it's not necessarily one of those, oh, they just fell in love like that thing, that stupid thing. It's more like this supernatural thing that's like, they don't know why they're drawn to each other, but they just are.
Yeah.
And there's a purpose behind it.
Definitely.
And this love story blossoms, and the movie looks great. Like, I'm like a sucker for anything set in the snow. If you like take your movie set and you coat it in snow, I'm gonna think it looks awesome.
Correct.
And this movie does that very well. Sometimes it does look a little fake and effects heavy, but for the most part, it looks really good. Especially the William Hurt estate.
Yeah.
Where
completely.
if you go there, basically nothing goes wrong, literally. So that's like its whole existence. And this love story happens. She's basically doing. They keep talking about the stars and how everything is connected. They say everything is connected like 6 times. They really want you to know that everything is connected. So I was just like, all right. But then this whole demons and magic thing started to happen.
Yeah.
And the movie is kind of a blast. It's one of those, okay, yeah, it's probably, as much fun as I had with it, it's probably technically a bad movie.
Mm-hmm.
But you want to talk about, there's this thing lately where people, like if you look at Sharknado, most recent, people are up in arms now about Zombievers or whatever it's called.
I haven't heard of this. It must come to pop eventually.
They're just trying to do this, they're trying to do this thing now where so bad it's good movies are popular.
The Room.
So instead of making bad movies by accident, they're making bad movies on purpose in hopes that they gather a cult following, which is dumb and bullshit and fake. Amidst all this, we have Winter's Tale. Winter's Tale is definitely a so bad it's good movie.
Agreed.
It's the perfect movie to get drunk with your friends and watch. Perfect. If you want to watch this movie, do it just for fun. And you will be totally pleased, I promise.
I'd watch this again. For sure.
And it's so... Okay, it does have its problems. Like, some stuff feels fragmented and, like, you know, there's, like, story contrivances out the ass. But it doesn't matter because this movie just knows what it is. Russell Crowe is so over-the-top, hammy, hilariously, awesomely bad. Like I was talking about Keanu in Man of Tai Chi.
Yeah.
Something like that. He's so bad. He's amazing.
It's like his accent is kind of like Billy Connolly mixed with a pikey accent from Snatch mixed with Seamus. And if you roll them all together, you've got whatever he's talking like.
And Russell Crowe is an insanely great actor.
I'm starting to believe that.
So, when he does a performance like this, I can only assume it's on purpose. In which case, it's brilliant. So, it's
he
literally...
made Broken City tolerable for the parts he were on.
It's literally so bad, it's just fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
He has this great, like... And he's just such a great character. Like, he's a gangster demon in 1916, played by Russell Crowe. That's just awesome, no matter how bad it is.
You got like 45 guys with him at all times.
He's doing this thing. He has this really awesome line where he's confronting Colin Farrell, and he's like getting ready to practically kill him, and I shit you not, he headbutts him 3 times off a bridge. It's hilariously, awesomely bad in the best possible way.
It's like a legitimate drunken bar fight.
I cannot This is probably the worst movie I will ever highly recommend.
I can see that.
And he has this, he's this demon, this immortal demon, and he's approaching Colin Farrell, and he has this line that says, they're just talking, and he's, like, trying to say, all that. And Crow's line is, I've been blackening souls and crushing miracles for as long as I can remember. That's an awesome line.
Yeah, it is. That's like custom made for a message board like signature.
So, yes. And this movie's awesomeness has a peak.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not gonna blow it.
Oh my
gosh. If you go to its IMDb page, if you go to his IMDb page, so I hope you don't.
Not necessarily.
Unfortunately, I knew for a long time.
But he's still awesome.
Because he was really high on the IMDb page when it first was posted. There's a cameo in this movie. A pretty big cameo. He's got 2 scenes. And he's Lucifer.
Yep.
Obviously, Russell Crowe has to answer to Lucifer because he's a demon from hell.
He's Azrael, basically.
And this cameo, if you know the guy that wrote the script and directed the movie, it's not a surprise.
Yeah.
Because he's like a huge producer of like big movies, a big time producer.
I'm sure he produced this person's movies before?
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
So if you're familiar with who the director is, who's mainly a producer, it's not totally out of left field, but I heard murmuring. There were a lot of people in the theater with
it was awesome when people saw it for the first time.
But I think they weren't even sure, too. They were like, is that? And they had to, like, really look, because he's kind of in the dark for a little bit there, and then he steps into the light, and you're like...
He also doesn't have he doesn't have his own voice at the beginning, either.
So, it's very interesting to get reactions to that.
Yeah, completely.
If you can, try to not blow it for yourself. So that was interesting, and just added to the whole over-the-top amazingness of this whole scenario. So yes, this movie is fucking insane, and I totally recommend it, no matter how bad it is.
Yes.
Go see this movie for fun, and you will have a great time.
What would you say personally? I'm looking to this, obviously, for my customers. What would you say to this, like, if someone wanted to go see this movie, and obviously you want to get people to go watch it, explain it, because this is being really recommended as a romantic movie.
The people that go in expecting a romance movie, is what you're saying.
Yes.
People who go in expecting this was a romance movie based on a romance novel movie. Well, clearly the book readers should know. I don't know how much different it is from the book, but apparently book readers should know.
Even the title of the movie comes off like it's going to be just another romantic drama.
So maybe Winter's Fable would have been closer, but
yeah.
I don't know. People who go in expecting a just pure romance period piece movie, like I was expecting when I went in. Not that I was hoping for that. I think that's why I liked it so much, because it was so different from what I thought it was.
Definitely from the trailers, that's for sure.
So, did the trailers not even let on to that
Oh
stuff?
God, no. It looked like a straight up paint by numbers period piece romance drama.
Holy shit.
Nothing even comes close to any of this stuff.
I don't know that I'd recommend it to like people who want it like a pure romance movie, because they're going to be really thrown off.
We don't have any good ones right now. I can't really send them to anything.
Yeah, Jennifer Connelly's in it, by the way, but she shows up in like the last third. So, and even Marie Saint is in it for like a few minutes, which is like, golden age era actresses. So, Oscar winner for On the Waterfront, which we talked about before, and North by Northwest.
Which we'll eventually talk about, probably.
This movie's just crazy. So yes, just see it for fun. That's all you can ask of it.
This would have been a good movie to watch on Friday, because when it comes down to it, you bring someone with you and they want to see this movie because it's Colin Farrell and it's a romance movie. I want to go see it, and the guy's like, okay, whatever. And they get to the movie, and obviously the one person likes it more than the other one did. So I mean, it's definitely not what they're advertising.
I couldn't tell what the people in the theater were thinking.
No, they were clueless, and they didn't seem. I couldn't tell either way. So no one walked out that I could see, though, so that's a good sign.
So, probably just because even if you don't like it, there's just something so...
You have to stay and watch.
What's happening?
What's gonna happen next? I need to get some popcorn. Forget it. I might miss something.
Isn't there a famous moment on Friends where Matthew Perry says, "I have no idea what's going on, but I'm excited"?
Yes, there is. It's very true.
Alright, we're going on an hour and a half now, so let's go into our last movie, which is a movie that was basically put to death by the world.
Yep.
Spike Lee's remake of Oldboy. A movie I was totally excited for because I love Spike Lee movies. The only reason people don't realize that Spike Lee still makes great movies is because they don't watch them. No, Spike Lee still got it just fine. Despite if he, is always starting fights with my favorite director of all time.
Yeah, that's kind of an issue.
Spike is always starting fights with everybody though, so it's okay.
Yeah.
About the remake of Oldboy. Okay, so everybody assumed the original Oldboy is just insane. You've got incest, you've got, eating live octopi, you've got tongues getting cut off, you've got suicides, just hammers,
Torture porn.
teeth, everything. Well, obviously everybody said an American remake of Oldboy is so not going to be the same thing because obviously it's going to need watered down. You could make a hard R version of Oldboy for America and still not get everything.
Yeah.
However, and made even worse by the fact that Spike Lee and Josh Brolin were not excited about the movie after they finished it. Supposedly because of apparently studio interference really got on the way. Apparently Spike Lee has like a 2.5-hour cut somewhere. That we'll probably never see the light of day, but... so it's condensed down to about an hour 40. And both Brolin and Spike Lee are not proud of it. Even Spike Lee... This is the first movie, I think, in the history of movies. The credits say a Spike Lee film instead of a Spike Lee joint. That's how much he wants to distance it.
That's crazy.
And there was an interview online where Josh Brolin was being interviewed for Labor Day, long before Oldboy came out. It was when Labor Day was at TIFF.
Yeah.
And the interviewer sat down and said, this is before the interview started, so I think Brolin didn't know he was on camera. And he said, "So Oldboy's going to be awesome, right?" And Brolin's response was, "I don't know."
It's great when your star has complete faith in your project.
He and Spike Lee made it abundantly clear the movie, the Oldboy remake as is not what they had planned. So you take that into consideration.
Okay.
Like I said, I'm a remake apologist. Call me a Spike Lee apologist. I could be everything. So I was excited for this movie regardless.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't care that it was a remake of a movie that I love.
Yeah.
And I was quite interested that it was Spike Lee. I was very interested that it was. People automatically dismiss like, "Oh, Spike Lee, no," but it could have been the greatest who's considered the greatest director of all time, and people would still say, "Oh no, it's a remake of Oldboy. I don't care." But people especially gave Spike Lee flack because. Given all the shit it had to go through, and given all its obstacles, and given where it had to come from, and given that it had to be an American version of Oldboy without all the crazy shit, I thought it did pretty well. I realize I'm very much in a minority because people already hate this movie just because it exists. There's people... This movie's most passionate haters have not even watched it. It's just that kind of movie.
And probably never will.
Yeah, and the people who do watch it and hate it, we're never gonna like it. That's just the way it was, unfortunately. And I'm sure they're gonna hate it even more than they would have because, like I said, it's not even the movie Spike Lee wanted it to be. So much so they took the joint. The original teaser poster with the tally marks said a Spike Lee joint. But when they made the actual movie, he changed it to film.
I have a feeling if the original movie would have stayed the way it was in the teaser poster, we probably would have got a Spike Lee joint.
The teaser poster was awesome. It was more like a banner. It was really long. Instead of going like being wide and normal shape, it was long and like vertical. and it was 20 tally marks, and then it said Oldboy at the bottom. A Spike Lee joint.
You'd have had that if it wouldn't have been for the fact that we never got the poster.
But no, Brolin is really good in it. There's really no reason for me to say that because it's Josh Brolin.
Oh.
Brolin is just good by default.
Yes,
Brolin could try to give a bad performance and he wouldn't.
No.
Of course we have Olsen. I'm really not an Olsen fan at all, so it's really not up to me to judge her performance. And as much as I hate to say it, because I was really excited about this, I think Sharlto Copley is miscast. I didn't really.
Really? That's not
Yeah,
good.
he's the big villain that's setting up everything. He did have some interesting touches. He's got like the Wes Bentley beard from The Hunger Games, and he's got like long manicured fingernails, and he gave himself a good creepy quality. And he changed his voice up. But there's just one of the and I wasn't totally feeling it. So unfortunately, but another thing that might kind of have Sharlto Copley in a bad situation is thinking about what could have been. The first two people that were offered the villain role in Oldboy were Christian Bale and Colin Firth.
Good lord. Yeah, I remember hearing about that.
Colin Firth in this part would have been fucking awesome. I would have fucking loved to have seen that. Because it's not really... Colin Firth has played douchebags, but he's never really played an outright villain that I know of. There might be one I'm forgetting off the top of my head, but I would have loved to see him. And Bale, but they both turned it down. They just didn't want to do it. But Copley was an interesting choice, and I was like, okay, let's see what happens. He's not bad. He himself is not bad at all. I just think he wasn't right for the part. That's all. It's nothing that he did wrong. It's just...
He did what he could with the subject matter.
Yeah. Onto a really great character. This was my favorite character of the movie. The guy that basically runs the little prison that they have set up. This is Samuel L. Jackson back. We're bookending with him.
Nice.
Samuel L. Jackson with a white mohawk. And he is just... I fucking love him in this. He's really hammy and everything, and he's doing his Samuel L. Jackson thing, but he's just... I fucking love him in this movie. Samuel L. Jackson and Spike Lee is a perfect combination. Almost as good as Samuel L. Jackson and Tarantino, actually.
Yeah.
But this character, Cheney, I think is his name, is just... He's really mysterious, and we don't know jack shit about him. But he's got this great energy and personality, and he brings a lot of care. Even if he's just doing his Samuel L. Jackson thing, he's just a really great character. I like the addition of him.
So Jackson's name is Cheney. Isn't that Brolin and True Grit?
Yes.
Yes.
And there was a not to use a racial slur or anything, because this is just what he said.
Oh boy.
Steven in Django.
Yes.
Steven is the decrepit old man behind the not-so-bright owner of the plantation.
Yeah.
Apparently Samuel L. Jackson, when he was basically making Steven's character, realized that he was basically playing Dick Cheney.
Yeah.
Of Candyland, and he would call him... He literally called Steven Spook Cheney.
Oh my god.
Let's
hope no one turned on the video right now.
It's brilliant, though. I mean, Steven really is Dick Cheney.
I know.
But anyway, yeah, he's actually playing a character named Cheney now, and it's the best character in the movie. And, yeah, it's obvious this movie's very... It feels like there's shit missing, and there's some really bad ADR, and, like, there's a lot of last-minute stuff. Frequent alum of Spike Lee, Michael Imperioli, is Brolin's friend that works at the bar that takes him in. His ill-fated friend. Yeah, there are... Obviously, technically, you can tell it feels like an incomplete movie. But going in knowing this is not the movie Spike Lee wanted it to be, I feel like you just can't fault him. Because of because studio interference is like a bitch.
Yeah.
So, especially on a movie like this. And they did change up the twist a little bit. The twist in this actually kind of makes the villain, I guess... It's almost like they tried to make the villain a little more likable. Like, they kind of took his reasoning out of his hands. Whereas he's a little more responsible in the original movie for how things in his past went and what caused him to do what he does. But this, it still works. You know, it's only if you're so hung up on the original that just little shifts in plot detail are gonna bother you, you probably just shouldn't bother. You might as well forget it exists. Now, the big thing that people were worried about was one of the most iconic scenes of the original movie, which is the 4 or 5 minute, one long take hallway fight. Which, of course, is legendary, the original one is. And, of course, Spike Lee did attempt to do it in one take. Granted, I hear he cheated. To my understanding, it was a few cuts that are seamlessly put together. So it's not exactly the one-take hallway fight, but it looks seamless. And I thought it turned... A lot of people thought, no, the other one was awesome. This one looks too cartoony, and this one looks too dumb. And this one turned out perfectly fine. I thought the hallway fight in this one was awesome, also. It may not be as stylized and awesome as it was in the original, but... They pulled it off really well. There's nothing to complain about. So yeah, that's basically... I liked it for what it was, even knowing how many problems it had getting made. So I gave it the benefit of the doubt. Because I think there was something really great in it that the studio wouldn't let Spike Lee make. But some of that greatness still... managed to seep in some places. So, yeah, unless you're totally hung up on the original, I wouldn't bother. But if you do have an open mind and you do like the original, I think it's fine. Obviously, it's not going to be the original, and it's not going to reach those heights. But it's as positively good as a watered down version of Oldboy could be.
So, it sounds to me like we've split the new release movies this week.
Yeah, it sounds like it.
It sounds like that you recommend to go see Robocop. And you recommend to go see Winter's Tale. Have fun, bring your friends. Maybe some contraband. I wouldn't say that personally, but you did. And just don't even worry about watching Endless Lover About Last Night. But the people that want to watch this movie are going to want to watch both movies are going to watch them anyway, so. They probably already did by the time this review comes out anyway, so.
Of the 4 movies that came out on Valentine's Day weekend, the 2 I don't recommend are the 2 most about romance.
Yeah. Very true. So next week we've actually got, it's going to be an interesting day. It's Pompeii and 3 Days to Kill. I don't know if there's anything else that comes out limited that I'm aware of.
I'll have to look it up now.
I don't know about the calendar. I know we've got some stuff coming out like Son of God and Non-Stop coming out the last week of the month. We're actually going to be going to Athens to watch another Kubrick movie in a couple days, so there's always that. BAFTAs are tonight, so if you watch those, we'll get our recap up as soon as we possibly can. New Versa is actually going to be filmed as soon as after I get this actually uploaded, or starting to upload. AJ, any parting words for this video?